What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Coast Guard's favorite nerd. And today we are looking at the Generation Toy Kitana. And I want to say another third-party name there, Blades Katana. This is on loan to me from Robert D., a dear friend of mine, also co-host of the 4Dummy Show. Speaking of which, while I have you guys, I think most people get the 4Dummy Show. If you don't get it, let me just quickly explain it to you. We're just speculating and having fun. It's not to be taken too seriously. If you're taking it seriously, you're wrong. It's just for fun and for laughs and sometimes engage in an interesting discussion. And hopefully that, along with the slideshow, helps you have a laugh. Now, as for this guy, he's got 3 modes, right? He's got this mode, the robot mode, and I'm not sure if I have time to go through all 3 modes today. I'm really in a pickle here, time-wise. I'm trying to get this done so you guys will have it Monday. I don't have time to do anything next week. Next week is lockdown for me, so I've been busting my tail to do double time to make sure that nothing skips a beat, that you'll have a sit-down Saturday, that you'll have a For Dummies show, that you'll have a couple reviews, etc. And I'm really pushing it to the wire. And I know you don't want to hear about my problems, and I get that. You just want the monkey to dance, and you also want the monkey to tell you everything you want to hear, or you get mad and you threaten me with an unsubscription. But that's okay. I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to give an opinion and hopefully help advise on a potential purchase or potential risks involving the figure. And speaking of which, Generation Toy has provided a card in their product with contact information if something is wrong with your figure. I think that's a very nice touch for customer service. I like that a lot. You know, I don't talk about packaging and stuff because I don't really think that's what people want to hear in regards to whether or not they're going to buy something. I don't think it's really a make or break thing. But I want to say that overall, Generation Toy Transformation Warbotron, that whole conglomerate, I always enjoy their packaging. They go above and beyond. And with that, let's get into accessories. You get 2 of these. They're a set of swords or blades for the helicopter, and they do come apart, and it's a tight little square connection there. They are a softer plastic, but they are also a thin plastic. No paint, but decent sculpt on them. Just be mindful when manipulating them. And they plug in using a C-clip around a peg like that, and provide a pretty nice finished look. This thing here is a little stiff on this one, but it will spin. He can hold those swords, and there's pegs that peg into the hand, and there's 2 for the left hand and 2 for the right hand. And they can also peg into his hip like has them sheathed. He also comes with 1 gun. The barrel is on a hinge. I'm not exactly sure why. And then the handle is on a hinge as well. White plastic, black plastic, decent sculpt work. Of course, he holds his gun and can be stored underneath in vehicle mode. And now let's move on to the alt mode. Let's get a size comparison right out of the way with Tiger Tracks. So it's a pretty decent size. Unfortunately, there are a few negatives, a significant amount actually, to go over regarding this alt mode. But let's talk about the positives first. So they are sculpted beautifully, I feel like. And there's tons of like painted detail and stuff. The rescue up here on the sides, the cross there. And it looks very nice. Unfortunately, there are a lot of negatives. So we have the translucent plastics, which you know isn't really a negative, but I just want to talk about them. And then we have some nice red paint up here as well. So there's a lot of softer plastics, which is nice because they're thinner pieces and they feel a little fragile. Just like the blades feel a little fragile in these, which we'll get to. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to take some hot glue, not hot glue, like a hot air gun or hot water to these and sort of get them to lay flat, the windshield wipers, because they're sticking up. Like they don't want anything to do with that windshield whatsoever. The same soft plastic is used here on these handrails and here on the back. Outside of that, the only other, so the other thing is it has a hard time kind of staying stuck together on mine. As I go to manipulate it, the bottom pieces have a tendency to come unpegged, as do the top pieces and these side railing pieces here. These side railing pieces are a whole nother bag. So they slide here, as you can see. They're supposed to peg in right there, but it doesn't feel good, and it's a very thin plastic, and I'm scared to break it. They also collapse between all of the moving pieces, how thin they are and how, I don't know, the lack of structural integrity they seem to have. It doesn't give you a good feeling, and as you go to manipulate it, it has a tendency to kind of collapse on you. Now, that might go away if you can really get this stuck in, but I'm not putting any excessive force on it because I don't want to cause any damage. And as you can see, that's come undone again. It's not really stuck in all the way. So there are a number of issues. This piece here is a piece of plastic you want to be careful of as well. So just there's a number of things that are concerning with this kind of right out of the gate. However, the sculpt and paint are done well. And to be fair, the materials feel good. They feel up to the standard that you're used to with their previous releases. So let's get it transformed. And as you can see, I've removed the blades and the gun. So we're going to turn this around and then collapse the two blades together and then fold them up. You can kind of keep these up to keep yourself oriented. And then we're going to break this connection here, fold this down just to spin these back around 180, and then lock this in here at the bottom, at which point you can split the two down the center. Connect the two pieces around on the other side and you'll see there's a tab and a corresponding slot. And then you can remove this top piece and bring it down and then disconnect this entire section. Be mindful of your sort of landing arms here and bring them down to sort of separate the upper and lower body. At this point, you can collapse your two landing bars, I'm not sure what they're called, and open these two flaps up and also collapse these two on a double hinge back around on themselves. And that C-clip, that's the second time that's happened to me. It has a tendency to come undone. You don't want to put any extra stress on it, so just manipulate it very carefully in order to get them around. You can then swing these side doors out and lock in this window into that empty section there. And then same for the other side. And it's a double hinge, so it can be a little ornery. Just sort it out. For the side panels here, it's a number of steps. Disconnect them if they haven't already become undone. Open up on a double hinge, spin it around 180. You want to collapse it back on this double hinge, which is the gray one, and then back again on the white to tab it into the side of the forearm there. And we'll do that again. So open up, keep your eye on this gray piece here, if you can. Spin it around 180. Flip the gray piece back around, and tab that tab into there. And that C-clip came undone again. Disconnect these window pieces here, which will allow you to bring the arms down ×2, basically. Same on this side. Disconnect the window piece, manipulate the arms down, which is, you see, is another double hinge here, and then a single there, and then you make sure they're connected again. Move the entire backpack around to the back so that you can kind of see what you're doing up here, and you want to rotate these around until you can see that there's a tab there that will line inside the chest. And on this double hinge that the shoulder is on, you want that to correspond to this little piece here. And it takes some pressure and doesn't feel good. I might have to do that off camera. We'll do this again. Spin it around so that it lines up accordingly. You can press it in. And then the shoulder has an open, look at that. Ooh, that's not good. You see that? You see how bent that is? I don't think I did that. Ooh, I'm not messing with that. The other shoulder will come up and tab into there. I'm not messing with that at all. And then you can collapse the windows on top. And then we're just gonna clean some of the other elements up. Collapse this as far as you can and just slide it up. We're gonna do that on the other side as well. You maneuver these windows, I think this way, or yeah, I think this way. If it's not, it's the other way, and I'll fix it later. And move the backpack down into the lower portion of the back. You end up having to spin the hands around as well. And then you can collapse the upper body into the lower body. On the back side, move these pieces around to the bottom and they'll become the feet on both sides. And then sort of bend the bot up at the knee. It takes a little bit of sorting to get these knees situated. And then bring the whole knee up and out in order to get the knee in line with where it's supposed to be. And that's relatively intuitive. And as you do it, the legs will undoubtedly separate. And then all that's left is finishing off the legs, which requires you to bring down this flap here to sort of close up the seam, which is nice. And then this piece comes around and tabs into the back of the knee, and do that on the other side. And I'll clean this up. All right, well, we got him here, so we might as well talk about him. So the head is on a hinge swivel, which they rarely do, and that is nice. So you get good range up. I mean, I think decent down for what it is, and a swivel. You have light piping in the back. You know I'm not a fan of that. And then you have blue paint on the face, which looks nice, and silver paint on the head, which looks fine. For the chest, we have translucent red, gold, silver, gold. All that looks good. And breaks up the sculpt quite nicely. You have a waist swivel, that's no problem. And you have an ab crunch, so that's nice as well. For the shoulders, we're not going to talk about this one. So using the kind of proper hinge, you can get it up almost 90 degrees. You can also get this flap up, which helps. It doesn't, that hinge doesn't really hold, but I don't think it's intended to, so I'm not sure we can hold that against them. And then you get the swivel here as well. But all this stuff, it just, we'll save it. Bicep swivel, right above the elbow. A little red paint there on the bicep looks good. You have a single hinged elbow that gets you just about 90 degrees. And then the wrist is on a ball peg. Actually, it might be a double ball peg. And it works very well. You get a rotation around, you get the swivel, obviously, you get a little bit of up down, a little bit of in out. I'm good with that. The fingers are on a base pen knuckle, and the trigger finger is independently articulated. So all of that works for me. Same for the other side, I would imagine, but I'm not gonna mess with it. There is these pieces, I feel like there's probably a way to get them, like that's probably supposed to lock in that way, but as you manipulate the figure, it just has a tendency to kind of come undone. Like, God, it's not U2, Depeche Mode. All right, and then we have hip skirts that can get up and out of the way with silver paint on them to reveal universal joints that get you a little shy of the full Van Damme and a little shy of the full Monty. And a thigh swivel. Nice sharp red paint down the inner thigh, which is interesting. Thigh swivel is built around the universal, which is preferred. The knee is ratcheted, and that gets you 90 degrees, and you get a little bit of extra stuff down there so it doesn't look as bad as it would without it, but it's still not great even with it. On the inside of the legs, you get some gold and silver details, that's fine, and you get this kibble on the side there. For the feet, you have an ankle tilt down, you have an additional toe tilt. You don't really get much of an ankle tilt up, no, but you get an insane rocker, so that's cool. And the back is kind of what you would expect it to be. Just a lot of engineering and parts places. Size comparison wise, there it is with the TFC version, the Masterpiece car, and a Stunticon from Transformission. So it's gonna fit right in line with your MP stuff scale wise. Aesthetic wise, I had to look at the IDW designs for the Protectobots, but I hope that it's more in line there because it's kind of what they went for with the Stunticon set, but I'm not entirely sure. Memory is just failing me a bit. Negatives wise, this thing is kind of a complete disaster in a lot of ways. It's just not built very well. The C-clips pop off. Stuff doesn't stay pegged in. Structural elements become bent. I'm still not sure whether or not I did that. I still gotta look at the footage. Obnoxious stuff hanging off of them that's just unsightly. That creates a fairly unclean look. Double hinges everywhere that become obnoxious to work around. And those problems pretty much apply to every element of the figure, whether it be the transformation, the playability, the display, and that's a problem. Positives wise, like the articulation works fairly well across the board. I like the sculpt for the most part. The engineering for the legs I like. The upper body is a little touch and go, but I don't hate the upper body engineering either. Not a ton of paint, but what is painted well. And the arm mode may be rock solid, but I'll never know because I'm not transforming this thing any more than I have to. I'm not messing with this any more than I have to. I would love to review the combine mode, but now I'm only going to be willing to do it if Robert puts them all in limb mode and, you know, and I just do the last one and connect it all. Then I'll rock with it, but I'm just too scared to mess with it. I can't recommend this, not in good conscience. It maybe after I see the combine mode, I can give a different opinion, but this is a really poorly put together figure. Is it possible that this is a one only? You know, I got a lemon? Sure, anything's possible, but I can only speak for what I have, and it's just really not well done. And I just wouldn't feel right if I gave it a recommend. But who knows, maybe in arm mode it works just fine. But yeah, for $100, absolutely not. No way. All right, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.